are officially going to get started. And I wanted to welcome everybody for tuning in tonight. Nikki, just to let you know, we did open this up to our big team, Blended Beauties, underneath Ashley Livermore. We are super, super excited to have you. For those of you guys who do not know who Nikki is, I'm just going to pop over here and read off a little bit about her because she's really fucking badass, and we are super, super blessed to have her here. I am just gonna make sure that I mute everybody as you guys come in here. If you guys do have questions, there is a little group chat that I see you guys are already commenting in, which is awesome. So definitely utilize that group chat for questions, and we will probably, Nikki will address this maybe as we go, or also to as at the very end. So Nikki will kind of let us know what she wants for questions and all that jazz, but we definitely welcome questions, okay? So a little bit about Nikki. I'll kind of like sum this up because it's a little bit longer than y'all probably want to hear me read. So Nikki is a senior executive director. She's on the highest board position within Pure Romance called the executive board, which, correct me if I'm wrong, there's only like 13 or 14 members on that board. Also, Nikki had joined Pure Romance November of 2008, so she's been in business for 11 years. So she quickly hit President's Club, which is like your first position of prestige. And ever since then, she has been holding a board of directors position. And like I said, currently sitting on the executive board. Nikki does sell over $100,000 personally each year in personal retail sales, and consistently adds 36 women to her team. And their team last year hit over $3 million, which is insane. And she is based out of Michigan. So fellow Midwesterner, she understands how fucking cold it is. Also too, she does work a full-time job. So she's going to tell us a little bit about that. She also has a awesome kick-ass husband named Michael. She also has 4 beautiful children as well. So I will let Nikki kind of take it away. Oh, wait, hold on. Just so you guys can understand where she's come from 2018, she's actually the record holder for sponsoring, where she added 126 new team members with 217 activations, which blows my fucking mind, you guys.
117.
117. Okay, there we go. Perfect. But 117 is like insane, you guys. So just adding the opportunity to 126 and then 117 activations. So super, super blessed to have you here, and tell us anything else that I missed and take it away.
So thank you, girl, for having me. Very excited about that. When Nina reached out, and she had just mentioned that maybe that her leadership had a few questions, just how to like balance things and how do I do it all. And, you know, she asked me to come on to this call, and I was like, okay, but I would totally rather them have questions so that way I kind of know what they're looking for. It just makes it easier so that it's not like blah, blah, blah the entire time. And maybe me telling you something that you're not interested in. So what I did was I wrote them all down. Well, once I first read them all, I was like, oh my gosh, like I wish that I could like be there in person and just knock down all their concerns quickly for them, because this business is the real deal. And I am absolute proof that you can still juggle a full-time job, have a family, a husband, have a life, and everything else that you want to. So real quick, I'll just tell you how I got started. I was a hostess first. I went through a really sticky divorce that took at least a year. And as a newly divorced single mom of 2, I wanted to just celebrate my divorce, have some wine. I literally was a hostess, never hosted any type of party. I never hosted a Pure Romance party before, although I hosted a Tastefully Simple party and I hosted a jewelry party, and they were both like a bust completely, like from 3 people that attended to 2 people that attended. Both parties, one was my mom. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm terrible at hosting parties. So I was super nervous going into the entire party experience with Pure Romance as the hostess. And then the absolute opposite, ended up happening in my house. I had 15 people at my house. So I got $130 in free stuff because I took $600 in outside orders before the hostess or before the consultant even came to my house, simply because she gave me some catalogs, gave me some order forms, and told me, hey, listen, if there's people that can't attend, don't worry about it. You can still take their order. You'll still get credit. And I was like, perfect. And that's really all I wanted was some free stuff. So she hook, line, and sinkered me by coming into my house because she offered me a heart massager. Still today, till this day, it is still one of my #1 sellers. And if you were to ask my husband what his favorite thing in the catalog is that everybody should have, that would be what it would be, is the heart massager. So, but yeah, I also, so once the party was over and it was just myself and the consultant in the shopping room, she had said to me, have you ever thought about a job like this? And I was like, absolutely not. No way. No, never. I'm never leaving my job. I work full time at Ford Motor Company. And I was like, there is no way that I could leave my job because it's kind of like a family passed on thing. Like working for the big three is just one of those things. Like when you get in, you're kind of like there for 30 years. And, you know, I'm very blessed to have that job. I've been there 20 years. So that is why I haven't left yet. But let me mention that it's no longer the money that I'm there for. It's more for the benefits, the retirement, it's the pension that's going to be, 10 years away or however. But I also told her, absolutely not, no way, never would I do a job like this because I fit every single objection that we always hear. You always hear, I don't have the money, right? Like I didn't have the money when I got started. I was actually $200 short and I purchased the deluxe kit. When I purchased it, it was like, it was $899 plus tax plus shipping. And we had that business fee, that business tools fee too. And I only earned, I believe it was 35% at the time. So I definitely, the girls that are getting in now, I'm like, oh my goodness, please get in for $259 because for the same kit that I purchased, which was so much more, same opportunity, So also too, I'm the girl who was raised in the church every single Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday for youth group, church camp too. So very strong faith and raised in the church my entire life. And so of course that was one of my biggest fears is like, oh my gosh, my dad would have a heart attack that I'm doing something like this. I had never used any of the products except for the coochie cream and the heart massager. So that was definitely something that I had to take on. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to learn all of this stuff? And back in the day, we received a DVD and it was literally after the kids went to bed that I put it in this DVD player and pushed play, pause, rewind on a remote and wrote down every little bit word for word. But I also, too, it was one of those things where, I told her this would definitely not be a good fit for me. And then she told me, if you ever need an extra $100 a month or an extra $1,000 a month, this could be a good fit for you. And at that time, you could always give me a call and we'll kind of go from there. And I was like, okay, but if I don't ever call you for the business opportunity, can I call you for a refill on my shaving cream? And she was like, absolutely. Yes, you can. And I was like, okay, fine. So that's it took the pressure off and the commitment. Cause that was definitely something I was not looking for at first. And then what ended up happening was when my money got tight going from 2-income family to 1, that's when I knew that I needed to change something because I was like, if my money is tight right now and I'm having a hard time buying diapers, then how am I supposed to allow my daughter to dance or do gymnastics when she gets older? How is my son going to do football or how am I going to pay for the extracurricular things that I want to do with them if money is tight right now? And so that's kind of how I got started. When I called her, I was stressed out about the training process. I was like, do I have to test drive all these things before I get started? Who signs up for a job like this? I had no idea what I was getting into, but at the same time, I jumped in with both feet and then I bought my kit and I got started. So November I got started, I bought my kit. but I didn't actually host my first party until 2009. And honestly, my very first party, like it was the hostess and one person. Like it turned into more of a intimate conversation than a party at all. And I could have easily said right then and there, like, oh, this isn't for me. Like it's already been a flop. Like this sucks. But at the same time, it was probably exactly what I needed just to kind of get familiar with things and just ease on into it. So here we are 11 years later, and our Bliss Beauties are doing amazing. I could not be more proud of our team. And it's just been a really cool and wild journey. But at the end, you know, there's been one of the questions that was in here, I have to mention. Somebody said, what are her struggles? How has she come over her fears, like at first? I have to say that we did not tell my dad for probably about 4 months that I was doing a business like this. Just because, like I said, he was the elder of our church for 30 years at the time, now 41. And it was one of those things where I told my mom, like, we cannot tell dad. And she was like, okay. And it was one of those, you know, we just she took some products home here and there, like from the coochie cream to Just Like Me and things like that. Like they eased into their household. And when my dad mentioned the products, then my mom said, hey, by the way, Nikki's actually selling those products. And my dad was like, oh, well, the Lord wants you to have a good marriage. And I just went with it. I was like, yep, you're right. And exit quickly. Yeah, so it was just, and you know, it's one of those things where if I told you like it's been all rainbows for my entire career, I would be completely lying to you. And that's never a great story anyway, right? One of when it said like, how has she come over her fears and things like that, it immediately when I read the question, it took me back to like my very first year in business. I remember because I signed up in 2008 and I had placed an activating order, which at the time I didn't even know what the activating order was, but I knew that my sponsor at the time had said, you have to place an order before December 31st. And so now I realized that I needed to place that order for her contest. But for me, I had no idea like what that meant. So I had done my first party in 2009. Do you know, I had like come out of the gates, had no idea. I was just like doing 1 to 2 parties a month. And then it started to kind of snowball quickly. And then I remember in September of 2009, Chris seen me at like a bus tour one time. And he was like, oh my gosh, like you could be our rookie of the year. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what's rookie of the year? Because Lord knows back then I didn't read the IRG. So if you're new, you should read the incentive requirements guide so that way you know what all the incentives are that are offered to you, because they're pretty freaking amazing. And I never knew that. And so anyway, he did say that. He was like, you know, you could be our rookie of the year. And back in the day, there was only 2. There was one for sponsoring and there was one for sales. That was it. Like you either got it or you didn't. And so he was like, you could be a rookie of the year. And I was like, well, what's a rookie of the year? And he was like, oh, well, you know, you'll walk stage and you'll do all these things, you know? And I was like, oh my gosh. So I went home, I read the incentive requirements guide, and I ran with it for the whole rest of the year. So the first year in business, I signed 19 and I had 16 of them activate. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just like, well, I'm doing this, you might as well too. You know, like anytime that somebody said, oh, it looks like you're having fun with this, maybe I should do it too. Then I was like, oh my gosh, like, yep, we'll just learn together. Let's go. And so then I remember it was March of 2010 when we were in Las Vegas for World's Conference. And it was like down to the wire, and they were about to announce Rookie of the Year for sponsoring and for sales. And I will never forget it. It was one of those days where, you know, you just like know in your heart, and I had the perfect dress and I had the perfect hair and I had the perfect everything. I was like, oh my gosh, I worked so hard for this. This is going to be so awesome. And then they didn't call my name. They did not call my name. And I'll never forget that. I felt like somebody just completely like came up behind me and just like a big blow to the back. And I was like, oh my gosh. And do you know that I had more sales and recruits than that other girl who walked the stage for those trophies? And the reason why I didn't actually get it was because I activated in 2008, not 2009. So although I started my business in 2009, because of that one order, I was just like, oh my, it changed everything, right? So I remember being in that auditorium, like in that room where the awards were happening. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, like this is it. Like I worked so hard for this. Like this is so crazy. And I could have turned left or I could have turned right at the very moment in my business. And I could have been like, you know what, like forget it. I did all this hard work for nothing. And you know, whatever it was, because at come September to the end of the year, that was one of my goals, right? And literally what ended up happening was I remember going to my room in Las Vegas, going to my room, just crying. And when I seen Chris at one of our like luncheons, he was like, I am so sorry. Like he knew, he was like, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. And I'm like, what? And he's like, it was in the language. He's like, it was in the language because you actually placed that order the year before. So anyway, the reason why I tell you that is because yes, it does come with like goal setting, but also sometimes we don't realize, we get thrown these curveballs that we don't even see coming. And it just totally like comes from the sideline, like what just happened? And, you know, it's up to you to make the decision if this business is, your purpose in this business. And for me, it was then that I decided like that my commitment is to this business and to all the women that I come in contact with as far as changing their life, no matter if it's one little tip that I give them or if I am on their journey as their sponsor, leading the way, like no matter if it's phone calls or if it's even just in the shopping room because I met them at a party or they referred to me, because these products change lives. And that's what I truly believe. So a lot of times people will ask me like, well, I mean, there was another question. How do you seal the deal? Like, how do you seal the deal with leads? And how do you just like sign them up? And people ask me that all the time. I'm definitely one of the most patient people when it comes to sponsoring because I know that good things come to those that wait. I also am a firm believer that your first team member is the hardest one to find, but all the rest of them kind of follow suit. The more people that are at your parties, it's just a matter of the numbers. Like the more people, the more attendance at your party, the more chances you are to have like to sign somebody up, because 1 in 10 are going to be interested and then 1 in 10 sign up. So my number has always been 30 for every year. So every year since the first year in business, I've always signed 30. I read a book one time in my second year in business called Beach Money, and it's by Jordan Andler. And I remember he was talking about how just about like team meetings and rallies and things like that. If you have somebody that's interested, you're more apt to like get them there by picking them up and carpooling and getting them there, talking to them on the way, getting them excited. So I've always been a firm believer in that too. And the number has always been 30 because 1 in 10 will be a team leader for you. So if you look at it like, well, there's 30, and for every year after that, I can at least find 3 leaders that were within the year. So like, I know out of my team, if I look at the downlines of my first downline, I can say, well, these 3 were like 2015. These 3 were 2016. It's really strange how the numbers go, but I mean, maybe he just planted it in my head so long ago that that's like what I believe in, but the numbers do work out. So
I think that is so true as you're just saying that. I'm like, that would make total sense. That's good.
Yeah. And so when the longer that you're in it, obviously the more that it builds and then the more that it builds. But to me, it's like the commitment, because I'm not going anywhere. So I'm kind of like, well, if you sign up today, it's perfect. And if you sign up 6 years from now, it's perfect because I'm going to still be here. So when I'm at parties, I don't really like to put a lot of pressure on, whatsoever. I don't like commitment. I don't want anybody to feel like pressured or like, oh my God, like it was down my throat or anything like that. I'm more so kind of like, I do one of these where I kind of like put my hands out and I'm like, do you want some? Come on. You know you want some, come on. Like you could want it now or you could want it in the future. Either way, I'm going to be here offering it to you. And we kind of go from there. And it's funny because I mentioned, we were talking sponsoring today at my team rally, and one of the girls, she was my hostess for 9 years. She signed up, and she's one of my hundreds, my 2018. She signed up for a discount. She only wanted the package. She messaged me for that. She's like, I've been a hostess long enough. I might as well just buy one of those packages so that way I can get a discount. And I was like, sure, okay, that's fine. And then before I knew it, that was in January 2018. Before I knew it, she was like signed up to go to World's Conference just to go because she wanted to wear a pretty dress. And she's been to every single Pure Romance event since. No matter if it is our team meeting, she's never missed one, except for one she had to she zoomed in for it because she was out of state. And then every single corporate event, she has never missed a single one. So I'm a firm believer too. You offer it to everybody because in that 60 days, so many things could change. From the time that they purchase a kit to the time that they actually, you don't know, somebody could be losing their house and that could all change within 60 days. So I'm a firm believer in just offering it to anybody who's interested and allowing them to decide what they end up doing with it. So I'm just here for guidance. So let's see. So yeah, with a commitment too, because a lot of times
for you, Nikki.
What'd you say?
I got a question for you. So back to the fears thing. What would you say is how did you talk yourself out of the deep dark black hole of not wanting to quit when you didn't hit your goal? I feel like a lot of the times, we feel like a failure, and sometimes that can be really hard to dig ourselves out of. So is there anything that you did or that you talked to yourself about or focused on to really understand that it was just a momentarily kind of thing?
I think like I said, I think it goes back to your whole purpose. When women, for all the times where somebody has sent me an email or a message, back then there was no Facebook Messenger. Let's be clear. There was none of that. So we had to get on the phone and call people and, the whole thing. There was hardly texting. We had to hit the button 3 times to get E. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it is today. But honestly, it was one of those things where it's more so about the purpose. For me, the girls, I remember someone saying to me one time, yes, I think you just saved my marriage, in an email. And I was like, oh my gosh. For me, I had just been divorced. I had just newly been divorced. So that was very fresh for me. I was like, oh my gosh, my marriage was jacked. And if I could help her in this way, not everybody gets to put a positive thumbprint on the world, or should I say not everybody does, although it's available for them to. So that's kind of how it was for me. I felt like every time I would go into somebody's house or first of all, it was fun, right? And I got paid a lot of money. So that's hard to walk away from too. Because I went from not being able to pay for diapers to, where we are today, and you know what, it's crazy. I just, I scrolled back through all my photos today. So I just won the Ireland trip at the end of last year. And it's so crazy. 5 years ago at a team meeting, we did a goal thing, and on these Chinese lanterns, we used a Sharpie and we wrote on there what we wanted to do. And then we lit them and we threw them into the sky. It was so awesome. I get chills thinking about it. Literally 2 hours ago, I was laying up in bed with Avery and I was scrolling through all my photos to find it. And it says, take Michael to Ireland and Switzerland. And I was just like, oh my God, yes, it took 5 years, but again, too, that's where the commitment and patience come in. Because again, if it wasn't for this business, I wouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean? When it comes to the dark places, I think that because there's been a couple different times where that's happened. You know, because like there's always like the naysayers. I believe that you have to like just stay true to like what you want, like what you're working towards, like what you're focused on. And it's not always easy. And when you start to succeed, it's not always like pleasant either. Like the people around you become not so pleasant sometimes. Like that's the truth, unfortunately. And oh, what was that book that I read? I read last year, Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone, which is freaking phenomenal. And I read it in the beginning of 2018 when I hit my hundreds. And I read it again at the end of 2018. And it was crazy how that year, with all my growth of sponsoring so many and just taking on this entire sponsoring level by storm, like just people that I thought were in my circle, it changed. And so anyway, when I read it again at the end of the year, I can remember just being in tears and things like that. But I really do believe in fueling your soul with things that that you need to hear. You know what I mean? I was never a reader, but I do audiobooks like on my job because, or like in the car on the way to a party, or if I'm on the treadmill, or wherever the case is, I fit in an audiobook just because I would rather do that than listen to like garbage radio. And it's funny how sometimes the books that we pick up are exactly like what we need to hear. And we don't mean for like the self-development to like naturally happen, but it does. So, yes. Okay. So does that help or no? I will tell you too, my song, so I came out of 2018 in kind of a tough place. And again, too, just the naysayers or like the whispers behind closed doors, things like that. And I was in my car one time by myself and I heard the song. I don't know if you've ever heard the song. Katy Perry sings a song called Rise. And I lost it. And it was probably in September. October 2018 is when I hit the hundreds. And so in September is when I heard that song, and it became my like chant for the rest of the year to kind of push me through to like actually set down like what my goal was and actually nail it down. Because my husband reminded me, he's like, because I said, maybe I just won't hit it. Maybe what I did is just enough. Maybe I won't go like for that. And I was like in tears, and he was like, are you crazy? He's like, are those goals your goals or their goals? He's like, those goals were your goals. And I was like, okay. So it's just about keeping like the right people in your circle who are going to cheer you on. And at the end of the day, it all stems from you. Like, so write it down and break it down and then make it happen. And I know that a lot of times people are like, oh, this is all you have to do. No, like quit overcomplicating things. You don't have to make it so complicated. And I think that's what happens a lot of times in this business. For me, I don't have time to make things complicated. And I need a very simple like party plan, very simple, like everything I do has to be very simple, because otherwise, A, if it's not fun, I don't do it. And B, if it's too complicated, I don't do it because I'm like, didn't have time for that, so I didn't do the whole thing. So when it comes to like my schedules, because I work at Ford Motor Company on the Ford assembly line, so I build trucks for a living, literally like putting the car together. And we build 700 trucks a day. So my day starts at 4 a.m. I have to like leave the driveway at 4:45 on the assembly line by 6 a.m. and I don't get done till 5:15. And then it's about an hour and 20 minutes drive home in traffic. So for those that say, I don't have time to do this business, I'm like, girl, you got time. You got time. We just have to simplify the things that you're doing so that you can squeeze them in where you need to. And then you can say, I'm done with that. No matter if it's today, like sometimes I do things 3 times a week and sometimes I do things once a day. You know, it just kind of depends. For me, I do 4 things for every party. 4. That's it. Like I send a hostess packet. I create their Facebook event, which is all copy and paste. And I do the invitation, and then I add it into the COO, and that is it. Those are the 4 things. Those are the 4 main things that I do for every party. Once I have those checked off in my planner, I just know that at least it's set, and it's a pretty set party.
I know people are going to ask, so tell us more. So for your hostess packet, since you like simplicity, which we teach that on our team a lot, what do you put in your hostess packet? And is it the same hostess packet you give at a party when you book it, or do you only mail your hostess packet?
So I personally mail my hostess packet because I'm a firm believer that people like to get things in the mail that's not a bill. So I purchased like a 6x9 poly mailer from Amazon. You can buy them 100 at a time for like $10. And I get a cute little design on them so that no matter if it's like seasonal or like a fun, cute summer one, or right now they're hearts with like the white envelope with gold and pink hearts on it for Valentine's season. But it's got 1 catalog, 3 order forms, and 2 documents in it. So
you guys those documents after today.
Yeah. Say it again.
We'll get everyone those documents after today because I know.
Yeah, and they're on the COO. So it's the 40 guests in 4 minutes and the
party kickoff form.
Yeah, it's not even the kickoff form. It's like the hostess letter.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Smart.
The hostess letter. That's it. Like that's all they need to know. They need to know like who to invite, and they need to know, hey, this is how the party goes. No men, no babies, no children. Hey, which hostess do you want to be? Like 1, 2, or 3. Like that's it. And what also I like about mailing it to them is it gives me a reason to reach out. Hey girl, just want to check on you. Or I'll say it first, I'm like, hey Sarah, super excited about your party. I popped something in the mail for you, so keep an eye out on the mailbox. That's me reaching out. A couple days later, I'm like, hey Sarah, just want to check in on you. Did your package arrive? She says yes. So I know that she received it, but it's also me like having that communication with her. So, and it's just little like touches. It's nothing like heavy because I don't do heavy. So that's all I do. And I make them like, I probably make 40 hostess packets at a time.
I love that.
I make them one time and I put them in a box so that way I know that I am set for the next 40 parties. It also creates the intention that I'm going to have 40 parties. So I better get to finding my hostess. You know what I mean? Like, and when I come home from a party, it's super easy because all I got to do is grab it out of the box, write the address on, and mail it the next day. And you can mail them for like, I think it's $1.60, and that's it. So it's very, very easy. My opportunity packets, I make 50 to 60 of them at a time. Like legit, I lay it in my my living room because that means that I like literally can't do anything until those are complete because I have to like walk through my living room.
What do you give your people who want more information?
So in my hostess or my opportunity gift, I have it in just one of those little party cellophane bags.
Dollar store.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then I have the kit comparison sheet with all 3 kits on one sheet, my business card, a sample of Just Like Me, the opportunity brochure. Like we used to have the little skinny ones, but now they're bigger. I haven't switched over to those yet because I figured why waste the other ones when I got them for super cheap. But you could definitely do the new ones because they're beautiful on the COO. And then I put in there a little pack of extra gum, like the little pink extra gum, like the little 5 sticks in there from the dollar store. And I attach $100 bill to it because if they need like extra cash, because they're like, what's this $100 bill for? And I'm like, girl, I can show you how to make $100 an hour.
That is super good. So
that is all I do.
What's the gum for?
Extra cash.
Oh.
Gotta be cute and fun or I don't do it. And also too, it adds a little bit of weight. I know that sounds silly, but it adds a little weight to the actual gift. So it's not what you give, it's how you give it. You know, I'm a firm believer in that. So.
And then I just want to touch on the questions in the comments here. So back to Chelsea had asked, do you do any coaching with the hostesses? So what does like your texting with the hostesses look like? And then also Brandy had asked, how many parties she loved. Oh, that's not a question. I lied. Just, are you posting in the events daily or weekly? What does that look like for posting to the events?
So I will hostess coach over 4 weeks is usually, and if it's closer than 4 weeks, I kind of just smush them all in. I have to keep things super, super simple. So I have like one album in my phone. That's all like party planning. That's it. So every photo that's in here is like all party planning. And then I know, so we have all of our documents housed in Dropbox. So I literally like copy paste. But the way that I remind myself, because I'm busy, right? As we all are, no matter if you have kids or fur babies or college or whatever the case is, the way that I remind myself is I set like an event in my phone, because I don't usually use a digital calendar for anything. I always use my paper planner to write everything down. So in my phone, I'll put in here like, I don't know if you can see it or not. Maybe not. I probably won't do it. Oh, maybe there. Okay. Can you see it? So it says like on here, it says like day before Kelly, and then it says day of Sarah. So it's like on the same day. So it'll show up like on my phone screen, but it also shows up on my watch. So when I look at my watch, it'll say day before Sarah or day of Sarah, day before Kelly. So when I see that, then it triggers me to pop over to their event, drop the picture, copy, paste, done. And I can literally host this coach in less than 3 minutes. It is incredible. Or tomorrow, right? Like on my watch, it says rise and grind, 9 a.m. So like, I know what's coming up and it's quick, it's easy, it's done. So that's just what I send my reminders.
I love that.
Because parties don't happen by themselves. Like if we don't do our job, then like the party doesn't happen.
And then do you plant seeds with your hostess like right away on that hostess coaching call, or tell us a little bit about your planting seeds with your hostesses?
Or signing up?
Yes.
So in the letter, I believe that's the letter that's on the COO in the training Pure Romance.
I will post to both team pages.
So it says, first I have to know which hostess do you want to be? And it gives 1, 2, or 3. And so that's me planting the seed the first time because she's reading that letter. The second time is by me, I send the hostess a message, part of like the party planning. Because some days I'm posting in the event and other days I'm sending her a message. So I'll say, hey, just wanted to know, have you decided which hostess you want to be? 1, 2, or 3. And I list them again, but that's in a Facebook message. And the third time is by the post that goes in there that says like, did you know that we have 5 different types of consultants? And then it actually is a picture. There's like the 5 different consultants on one picture. And the second picture that goes up is like someone fanning out a bunch of $100 bills. So that's the third time. And that's 3 seed, like me planting the seed, me sprinkling the seed, me sprinkling the seed again before I even attend her house, like show up. And then I play the 8-question game religiously. That's how I sponsored 126 people. If you're not playing that game, I suggest that you do that. That's why it's in the kit, is because I sponsored 126 people. Chris, we're like, where in the heck are you getting these people from? He's like, no, really, where are they coming from? And I'm like, from parties. And I ask them these questions, and and then I ask them these follow-up questions after, and then it's like an interactive game, and I give them tickets for playing it. And then, but I will say this, it is all in your delivery. When you do the 4 follow-up questions at the back, of the connection card, which is absolutely like that's the key. You know, you can play the 8-question game all day long. If you don't have
you play the 8 questions game and then you do the back of the connection card, right?
In the middle of the party. Yeah. I do it with them. I'm like, okay, so we're going to play this quick little game and then we'll get to the fun thing. We'll get to the more wild side of the catalog. But first, while I'm going ahead and I'm pulling all those out, what I'm going to have you do is these are the top 8 questions I get asked at every single party. So I'm going to have you go ahead, which is, by the way, true because I make them ask me the questions, right? So I'm not lying. But I say these are the top 8 questions I get asked at every single party. So what I'm going to have you do is go ahead and ask me these questions. I'll go ahead and answer. You get a ticket for asking me. And by the time that we're done, playing the game, then I'll have all these bad boys unwrapped and ready to show anyway. And I'm like, and then I'll say, and there's a gift involved, so you probably want to play this anyway, right? Like, who doesn't love free stuff? And I make it so casual that they're like, I get their attention because I mentioned that there's a gift involved, which is true. It's the opportunity gift. That's what they get. Literally the information with the freaking gum and the Just Like Me sample. That's what they get. And I do it in the middle. Sometimes people do it at the end. I personally find that it fits better for me in the middle because it gives, so I'll at the end of it, right? So we got to ask them the questions on the back. I hope everybody's doing that because I'm telling you, I don't get, like yesterday I had a party, 3 people, my hostess and 2 people, and I had 1 shadow. So everybody got 2 questions. I still played it anyway, even though it wasn't a large party, I still played the game. And so I'll go through the back and I'm like, it says, tell me a little bit about you is number 4. So I'll say, tell me a fun fact. Like, I don't know, what is your favorite type of food? Or it could be how many tattoos you have. Like, if you could travel anywhere, where would it be? Or where was your favorite vacation? So like, I let them tell me about them genuinely. So how am I going to remember them? I want that on the connection card. So when I follow back up with them, I have a reason to like easily connect with them because I didn't forget. And they think that's super thoughtful. And then I'll say, you know, I ask them like, what's the worst bill of the house? Like the one you hate paying the most. For me, I hate paying the car insurance. I think I'm a great driver. Like, why would my insurance be so crazy? And they're like, oh my gosh, I hate the car insurance too. And like, I go around, I'm like, what do you hate? Like, tell me what bill you hate. Like, I make them actually say it. It's an interactive game for me. It's not me standing over them because that feels pressuring and I don't like pressure. And then I'll say, what's the worst bill of the house? If you had an extra $800 today, like the post office, like they just dropped it off on your front porch today in your mailbox, like what would you do with it? You know, it's addressed to you. Like, what would you do? I almost kind of like paint the picture of the check with their name on it so that they can see it in their head because I'm a very visual person. So that's kind of how I like paint the picture. And then I'll say, what would you do with it? And I'm like, oh yeah, and by the way, and they look at me and I'm like, you can't pay a bill because that'd be responsible, right? So let's do something fun. And then they'll dream a little bit and they're like, I'll go on vacation. I'm like, where would you go? I would go to Cancun. I'm like, okay, so what about, you know, like it's a conversation. And then I'll say, okay, last question, ready? And they're like, okay. And I'll say, number 6, if I could show you a way to pay for number 4 easier so you can enjoy more of number 5, how interested are you in a job like mine? Yes, no, or maybe. You're not going to hurt my feelings no matter which one you choose. And if you decide to say yes or maybe, don't worry, I'm not going to stalk you in any way or anything like that either. So don't worry, it's not that kind of game. And they kind of like giggle. So again, it takes the pressure off of them. When there's pressure, the answer is no, automatically. You know, so they're like, I just kind of give them a taste and see what they do and see what they say. And that's it. And then I'll say, okay, so how many of you said yes? Anybody say yes? And I kind of like look at them and I'm like, anybody say yes? Raise your hand. I do this in the middle of the party. I don't care that it takes like 6-7 minutes. I don't care. It adds so much money onto your paycheck. Like that's how you got to look at it. Like, so I'll say, how many of you said yes? And they'll raise their hand. And then I'm like, how many of you said maybe? And they'll raise their hand. I'm like, okay, if you said yes or maybe, you got to raise your hand one more time so I can count. You ready? And I'm like, yes or maybe, raise your hand. They raise their hand. I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, hold on a second. And that's when I go in my bag and I pull out the gifts. Because otherwise, when they see you have a gift in your hand, everybody said yes or maybe. And you can't get an actual realistic count of like who's a yes or who's a maybe. And the reason why I do it in the middle is because from the time of the middle to the shopping room, they have all that time to consider, could I really do this? Should I really do this? Maybe I should look in this packet. Maybe I should check this out. Maybe I have more questions. All that time goes by versus me doing it right before we go into the shopping room, and it's a rush to get home. It's a rush to get their products. It's a rush for everything. So if you do it in the middle, it gives plenty of time. And if they don't join or like have more questions right then, what I'll say to them is, I'll say, I'm so excited that you'd said yes or maybe. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, here's the deal. So that gift I gave you, it's designed to create questions. So what I want you to do is go home, take it home. There's a full sheet of paper in there with all 3 packages on it. And what I want you to do is write down any question that crosses your mind about the business. Anything. It could be anything. Like, what are these products? To how many parties do I have to do? Or anything. What I'm going to do is with you on Tuesday. Does Tuesday work for you or Thursday work better for you? Which day? And they'll tell me, and I'm like, perfect, because I want you to bombard me with all the questions that you have, so that way we can see if this is a good fit for you. And again, it's like hands off. As soon as you take your hands off, it's like just different.
That was super good.
Thanks. And then, oh, let me say this too, because this has happened twice. Let's be honest. Not every party's perfect where you got like 4 people that said yes or maybe, right? So let's be realistic here. You go to a party and they're like, how many of you said yes? And they're like, you're like, how many of you said maybe? And they're like, no. I'm like, at first I was like, oh shit, like nobody said yes or maybe, like, dang it. You know, it almost bumped me off my square. Cause I was like, I've been doing this routine, like every single party for a whole year. And then so I was like, okay, that's all right. I'm like, cause if ever that changes, you know, you could always like, let me know then, and then we can start your business right then. So that was kind of me like, dang, okay, how do I recover from that? So if it ever happens again, right? If it ever happens to you, what I want you to do. So what I did the second time, cause it's only happened to me twice, and I've been playing this game for over 2 years. So I'll say, nobody said yes or maybe? And they're like, no. And I'm like, that's freaking awesome. And they're like, what? They look at me like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you know what that means, right? And they're like, look at me. And I'll say, that means that I'm going to be your pure romance chick for life. Because I mean, who else are you going to buy coochie from? And they're like, right. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So that was how I recovered from it the second time. Cause I was just like, oh my God, like, what do you say? You know, I felt like at first I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I feel kind of like an idiot because nobody said yes or maybe. But that's how I ended up. The second time around, I knew how to like come back from it. So what else? Does anybody have any questions?
Beth has a question. If you want to read that. Sorry, I'm showing my face with food.
You're fine. Which one?
Beth. She asked about like advice for a new consultant starting out. What's your best advice?
My best advice for a new consultant would be to literally sit down with your phone and write down on a piece of notebook paper every single name of a female that's over the age of 18. Write her name down on a list, and then go through your Facebook and write her name down on a list and call them all. And just be like, hey, you know what? So super excited because I just started this new business, and the corporate office challenged me to actually do 6 parties. I only need to do 3 small ones and 3 big ones. So could you like help me out with like a little one? And see what they say. Cause I've had $1,500 parties with 3 people attending. So a little one is like a little bit, of a commitment. So, and also too, like you going down the whole list, definitely make sure that you do obviously like your launch, your encore, a live party. And basically what we do is if they can't make it to the launch, then we bump that attendee to the encore. They can't make it to the encore, then they get bumped to the live. So that way, it's like 3 different dates that you offered to this friend to actually purchase from you. So that's kind of how we do it.
Tell us more. Okay, because we all have a little bit of fear in ourselves when picking up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Or even just like messaging someone that you've never talked to in like, or maybe it's been like a couple years. Like, what is your piece of advice for just like asking someone not only if they're interested in joining your team, but also just booking a party or even going for the sale? Like, what do you always say to new girls who are like, I don't know if I should ask her? Just a little advice for that.
So I personally like, if you're not going to call them, I believe that you should at least voice clip them on Facebook because they can hear the excitement in your phone or in your voice over the phone, and that makes you more personable. So I definitely think that you should do that versus texting and typing because it could be a copy and paste, and that drives me crazy. Now, also too, like, don't put so much like of a commitment on it. Like, seriously, yesterday, so strange. And I was like, you know what? I got to take I screenshot it for myself so it would be easy for me to find. So yesterday I posted something last night. It was literally just a picture of, I believe it was me, like, oh my gosh, kit sale, or no, it said, make your passion your paycheck is what it said. And then on the top of it, it had said, if you could join Pure Romance for less than $150, would you? And then it had like a poll and it said, heck yes. And then it said, I need more details. And so one person commented on it that said, heck yes. So I was like, perfect. It looks like on my story that it was at 100%, right? Because only one person like commented on it. So what I did was I sent her a message, just kind of throwing it out there. And I said, hey, Lindsay, I have 3 pre-sale coupons for kits that will be 77% off for 48 hours only. Would you like me to send you the prices and the product bundles to check them out? She said, yes, please. I was like, perfect. So literally I sent her like the 3 kits. I sent her the prices with tax and shipping. That's important that you add the tax and shipping in there so there's no surprises when somebody's signing up. Because for when I signed up, I was prepared to pay the $8.99. What I wasn't prepared for was the tax, the shipping, and the tech fee that was thrown in there. And I had to borrow $200 from somebody to get that money. So that's why I always make sure that I add the tax and shipping. So I said, did you want me to send you the prices with a picture of the product bundles and also the prices? She was like, sure. Literally less than 4 minutes later, she sent me a message response that said, sure, I'll take the deluxe. Perfect. Like, sure, I'll take the deluxe. Okay. She was not even on my radar whatsoever. So the more that you're like posting about it too, like, don't be so attached to where it's like, nobody's signing up. No, like, think about it like this. It's a big pond. You just cast your line out there and see what you reel in. That's it. More than anything, like, for me, I don't see like my business ending, I guess, is probably part of my success too. Like, I mean, they're going to have to bury me with the heart on my casket. I knew that long time ago. It's part of it. You know what I mean? Like, I'd probably have a tattoo, but I don't have any tattoos. So, and if I got one, that'd be the only thing. So, but the thing of it is like, my commitments here, I'm always going to do this. So like, whenever you're ready, it's fine. Does it hurt my feelings if she says, no, I think I'm good? Okay. But guess what? She then she goes on my list of my like potentials for like my evening of opportunity and things like that. She would then get an actual invitation in the mail for that.
I love that. So I know that we don't want to take up your entire night, but can you end tonight with just telling us a little bit about like your follow-up for your leads and like telling us a little bit about like how long does it normally take for someone to join? I feel like as new consultants, you know, we can get into this rut where we're like, oh my God, everyone that I'm talking to, like my 20 leads, you know, they're all just not really right now. Like, how do you follow up? You know, what does that look like? And then also too, just like, how do you stay motivated, or like, what do you tell newer consultants when they feel frustrated that people are not joining their team, like right this moment?
I just think that they need to remember that it's about them. The timing is about them. So when you get like yourself right with, this is where I belong, this is my purpose, like I'm going to do this, then you know that the opportunity, you're always willing to like extend the opportunity. I mean, I think that's it does get frustrating. I would be lying to you if I said that like I was never frustrated about like, oh my gosh, I didn't hit two. Well, it hasn't happened in quite some time, but if I were to say like, oh my gosh, I have to have 2 activations every month, and this month I didn't get 2, like, yeah, that's happened to me too. But the first one is the hardest one to find. The rest will come after. And the least, like, you can't stay. So I always focus 80% of my business is on 80% of my attention is on my business, period, at all times, no matter what. And 20% is on the team. The team is going to like start to run. They have all the tools. Oh my gosh. And now with the onboarding video, are you kidding me? Like with the one-on-one, the onboarding, the rallies, everything that your team has to offer, corporate, there's no reason why these girls can't be successful. My sponsor was never around, like ever. If you were to ask me who my sponsor is, it's Chris Chickenelli. Like he's always been my sponsor, always. So I would just say like by staying motivated is like what moves you? Like what is your why? Like why are you doing this? I mean, when I started, it was my car payment. Now I have 3 cars in my driveway, brand new cars. Like it's crazy. I mean, I left dinner a couple months ago. I went to dinner by myself, which normally doesn't happen by myself. But I went to dinner by myself, treated myself to sushi and hibachi, had my laptop there. I was eating, get ready to leave. It was like $50 by myself. And of course I took home some for Michael too. Get out of the restaurant, and I like get into my new truck, like my new Expedition truck, like $80,000 car that's in the parking lot. I'm like, I am doing okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and before I was struggling to pay for diapers. I'm telling you that was the story. And that was the truth. I remember my first team rally, or my first team Christmas party, we had Livingston Sangria wine, a gallon of it, because it was like $5.95. I'm just like, this is crazy. And here we are. That's why sponsoring is always that's my forefront, always. Before the sale, before the like booking, it's always the sponsoring. Because what I do today, I can get paid for multiple months after. Like nobody gets paid for today. Like nobody gets paid for yesterday's work like we do. So I work today. I signed 3 people up with this kit sale. Who knows? They could be on the team for the next 10 years. 10 years times 20, that's 120 months that I'll get paid for the one time that I did today. Why would I be worried about like just chasing the sale today when that sale could end, or that sale could be picked up by another consultant somewhere else? Does that make sense? Like for me, this is my priority. Also too, I get asked that all the time. How do you balance things? How do you juggle it all? Pure romance to me is a priority, because when my priority, like when I make my Pure Romance a priority, then all my priorities are taken care of. That car payment is getting paid, my children are taken care of, my mom got a freaking raise, like, you know what I mean? Like, the money comes in and people get paid. Not just me, but everything in the household I can't remember the last time I cleaned a toilet because I pay somebody to do that. Like, I'm not good at that. So I'm a big fan of paying people for what they're good at, and I'm good with that. But that's the thing. This has to be a priority. When you make it simple and a priority, everything else will fall into place. I promise you. You have to stay consistent. With the bookings, keep your booking game simple. Simple. I mean, I literally play bow ribbon lid. That's it. People say, give me a booking game. Bow ribbon lid. That's the only one I know. That's the only one. I mean, not that that's the only one I know, but that's the one that I know works. And when I need bookings, and every party, because I normally have a shadow, so I'm always showing them how to play. But I play the 8-question game for my sponsoring game with the 4 follow-up. I played the bow ribbon lid game with a coupon inside, so that way the hostess gets a little kickback when the 3 parties hold. And then I play for a icebreaker. I play what if game, or I'll play the shuffle, like to make some quick cash with some dead inventory.
Do you have like a Vimeo of your bow ribbon lid game?
Yes.
Okay. I know what that is, but I know that not everyone else does, so I would love to get a video of that.
Yeah, I think I do.
I'll message you.
Yes, I will send that to you. Yeah, it's easy. And it's one game. I always take the same box. I never have to think about another booking game. I used to, and that's annoying because what ends up happening is that the girls will, for me and the other girls that are on the team, it would be like, oh, we're going to change this based on the season, right? Like, oh, it's St. Patty's Day now, so we're going to do something all things green. Or last month it was like all things hearts. It was like changing up so much. Well, what I was finding is that if the girls are not partying several times a month, it's not becoming routine how they deliver the game. So what happens is then like the delivery's not right, and then they don't book the parties, and they get frustrated, then they're looking for a new game to play. The game is so easy that when they take the bow, like the first party books, the hostess gets to take the bow off, the second party books, she takes the ribbon off, the third party books, she gets to take the lid off, and inside is a gift card for the hostess for Pure Romance products, but only she gets to turn it in when 3 parties host. So on their original date.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you end with one last answer for someone who is looking at you and they're feeling like your status in the company is like so unattainable, and they're like, I would love to have a $3 million team. I'd love to make over $20,000 a month, but that just seems so unrealistic. And then we do this awesome thing called self-sabotage where we don't feel like we're worthy of success. I think fear of failure is equally as self-sabotaging as same as fear of success. So what would you say to someone who is 100% fully capable of doing what you're doing and they're just really, really scared of success?
I'm a firm believer that our path is already like been assigned to us. So like you're here for a reason. Like you're on this call for a reason. How many's on this call? 13. Okay. So like the fact that you even got on this phone call is a big deal, and congratulations for that. But for me, I just feel like our path and our calling is already like in the works, and it's been that way before I was born. You know what I mean? Or I wouldn't be on this call with you tonight. That's also why I was like, no, Nina, I think we need to do it sooner than even on Tuesday or Thursday, because we have a kit sale coming up. So we need to prepare for this. And your blessings are already on their way. I know, it's the truth. Like, so just go with it. Like, if you weren't meant to do this, you wouldn't be on this call. You wouldn't have been asked to even join the team. This opportunity wouldn't have presented itself to you. This is not by coincidence. I do not believe in coincidence. I believe everybody's put in your life for a reason. And even if it's like one smidge of a thing that you take from this call tonight, like you were supposed to get exactly that because you took the time. I mean, out of how many people are on, Ashley has a very big team, you know, like, and thank you for extending it to all of them, Nina. But, you know, for everybody in Ashley's team and for these 13 to be the ones that were on the call, that's huge. That's a big deal. So keep in mind that, like, just don't allow like the naysayers to affect you. Don't allow the self-doubt to affect you. Like, you're meant to do this and it's okay. Like, you were just given the gifts to do this and you can take it by storm. And not everybody's going to believe in you when you're getting started. Some of my best friends, when I know like what's best for me in the business, my inner circle of girlfriends, like even in the business, my tribe, sometimes I don't mention all of the things I'm doing until I see if it works. And then I bring them into it and be like, hey guys, like, so this is what I think and this is what we're doing. What do you think? Because I know that if it works for me, then it could obviously work for them if they decide to take on that. So just go with what your gut tells you. And you have some like rock star mentors like within the team. So I mean, come on, like, just chew on them for a little bit and say like, hey, share this with me, you know? But again, you're connected for a reason. It's not by coincidence. So just go with it. That's really all I believe. I literally just told one of the girls that today. She was like, she signed her first person after like 4 years in business. She's one of my granddaughters and she works pretty close with me. And she was like so excited. And she was like, oh my gosh, she like signed up and she's got another one on the way. And I was like, the first one is going to be the hardest one to find. The rest will come easier. And she was like, because your ears are open different and you see things differently when the first one comes, you know? And I said, I just want to say how proud I am of you. And I want you to remember in the back of your head that all your blessings are on their way. And these are the gifts that you're supposed to receive. So allow it to come to you. Sometimes, I know that sounds so silly, but, or like hocus pocus crap. And I used to believe that. I was like, this is a bunch of hocus pocus. Start writing your goals down. You'll see the hocus pocus like happen. If you're motivated and working towards it, keep them in front of you and it will start to happen. You're like, this isn't hocus pocus. Like, I am the moving force behind this. And it starts to happen. So I did tell her that though. All your blessings are coming. I can already like feel it, you know, and once it's a quick moving train, you know, like at first you feel like as a new consultant, you feel like the engine that could, right? You're like, I think I can do this. I think I can. I think I can. And you get moving and then you have that momentum. Keep in mind that you always need to be looking 3 months down the road as well. Like right now, currently, and I talked to my girls at my rally today, I said, you know what goes out in my back orders right now? Chafe Escape. Chafe Escape packets go out in my back orders right now in March because May and June, when it starts to get warm, guess what? They're going to think about that product and they're going to need that when they're wearing a maxi dress or whatever. Like, put those little seeds of like future products that they're going to need right now, like in your back orders, you know? So one other thing I wanted to mention too, before I jump off here, it said like, how do you how do you balance it all? How do you simplify things, blah, blah, blah. One thing I do is I use the customer connect cards too. As soon as I come through the back door, I take the customer connect cards. I already know like what I owe them because sometimes I do owe a back order. I write it on the connect card, like what I owe them, but I'll come through the back door. I take it and I address the envelope immediately. And then I will put what I owe them here, like under where the flap goes. So that way, I can put them in a pile so that way when the order comes through, it doesn't matter who's here, they can grab the items out of the box, like no matter if it's my mom or if it's my husband or, you know, if I wasn't here or however, it's already addressed and it already has like what I owe them right here. And then they flip it over and it's ready to go to the post office. So it's very quick. I don't have to spend a lot of time like looking through the COO of like what I owe and what I don't. Where did the connect card go? Oh my gosh, I lost it. None of that. Quick. Everything needs to be quickly done. because
That's
nobody's.
so smart.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you so much for doing this call and going above and beyond and just giving us everything. I literally have an entire page of notes, so I'm just so excited. That chafe escape in the back orders, it's so smart.
You
Oh my
gotta
God.
think about like what's coming. Also, too, you know what, too? When you do your demos right now, starting March 1st, right? Like, because that trio pack, that gift set, when you do your demo, you need to hold up all 3 of those at one time after you're demoing it, which normally I don't demo Cocoa Glow on people. I'll mention it, what it does, and but you hold all 3 of those and say you can plant the booking seed by holding all 3 and just say to them like, hey girls, and so if you're interested in getting a special, like a limited edition gift set of these, go ahead and make sure that you get on my calendar in March, and you're going to get all 3 of these in a gift set from corporate. What I mean,
Smart for especially for like upcoming in April or May. Yeah, like we'll find out like the April incentive really quick. That's super smart.
and they come in the kits. Like if you got a deluxe or more kit, you have the Cocoa Glow, the body. Oh yeah, the chafe doesn't. I forgot about that.
But I mean, still, you could even just like hold up a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also too the incentive picture.
Oh yeah, you
That's,
print that off.
but add that to your demo so that they can know, okay, so it's March 6th. You still have 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks to still book. Like there's no reason for us to not offer that in March. Like in March, I still book March. I don't book out any more than probably like 5 weeks out. That's it.
That's super awesome. Nikki, you're amazing. I really appreciate it. I love all these little nuggets. And I think that that's sometimes like what we expect from, trainings is we expect for like this mind-blowing magical thing to happen. And sometimes you guys, it's not massive. It's literally taking tiny little nuggets from every single training that you attend, that you listen to, that you go to in person. And it truly does add up to, really becoming whatever type of consultant that you want to do that you see as successful. So we love you so much, Nikki. I'll reach out to you. I know that a lot of the ladies would love to see like your actual verbiage for like how do you reach out to people. So
Okay.
I'd love some screenshots or some verbiage that you would want to give us.
Cool.
And I did write down like your sponsoring packet and also your hostess packet. And so I would just love
Picture those too, because like I take pictures like when I'm doing things, and I post it on my team page like, hey guys, like this is happening, because I personally do those, especially opportunity packets, because then I'm more apt to like hand them out.
Yeah, you know how much work takes.
Yep. I create everything with intention. I'm not a techie person. I'm not like all of that. I like the baseline of everything. Like corporate gives us some beautiful stuff. Like that training website is freaking phenomenal. Like, and like I said, all the knowledge that are wrapped up in between your team and Ashley's team. Oh my gosh.
Some good stuff. So well, I will talk to you guys all soon. And thank you, Nikki. We love your face. And we're super, super thrilled that you took your time. And by the way, you guys, she has to be up at like 4 a.m. So she did not have to be on this call tonight. So
Start to get red right about like 9-ish. So funny, my cheeks only get red when I'm sleepy or like if I had wine. So, and I have not had wine. But every once in a while, Avery, if my cheeks are super red, Avery will be like, Mom, did you have wine? Because she knows it. And I'm like, no. And she's like, you're sleeping.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you guys later. Thanks
So
for
much.
and
Bye, guys.
bye.